Here's today's storm risk by the National Weather Service, the National Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma, calling for a general thunderstorm risk of severe thunderstorms, potentially isolated storms, over portions of North and South Dakota today into portions of the Great Lakes, which are including portions of Chicago, Indianapolis, Indiana, Cleveland, Ohio, Detroit, Michigan, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. There also is a slight risk of general thunderstorm risk over portions of Mississippi into extreme portions of western Alabama. Yesterday's storm report was very active yesterday. We had a good report of general thunderstorms over portions of Oklahoma and Texas with reports of damaging winds and large hail. There was a report of a hailstone of about 2 to 0.75 inches, which are circumferent to about tennis ball size hail, just shy of baseball size hail, in southeastern portions of Oklahoma. Don't think we're going to have that big of a storm risk today. Just isolated showers and potentially an isolated rumble of thunder. Once again, in portions of the northern plains, portions of the Great Lakes, and portions of Mississippi. Here's a look at the tropics right now. The National Hurricane Center is only watching 2 regions today. One right around the central portions of the Atlantic, just southeast of the Lesser Antilles. They're giving it about a 10% chance of tropical cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. And they also are keeping a close eye on a tropical wave, which is interacting with portions of Central America, which they are giving a 60% chance on development. And at last check, the National Hurricane Hunters are expected to fly into the system later on this afternoon. Here's a look right now at the 12Z European model, showing the tropical system right around the Gulf of Honduras, which obviously would provide this as a tropical storm. It's verifying this will become a tropical storm later on this evening to the overnight hours. This is in about 72 hours, so the next 1 to 3 days. This will likely be still right around the Yucatan Peninsula into portions of the Central American area. So once again, heavy rainfall is a guaranteed potential with this system. Going on farther off into time, as you can see, once again, as I continue to verify the model would carry this farther off to the west very slowly. So once again, a flash flooding threat is potentially possible over portions of Central America, which include portions of Honduras, Nicaragua, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, and portions of the Yucatan Peninsula. Going to the next day frame, you can see the system is not as strong as it begins to interact with more land right around the Yucatan Peninsula and continues to exemplify more heavy rainfall right around this region. But after we go into the longer range, it begins to get picked up by this trough, which is moving in from the portion of the United States. We'll begin to pick up this system and drag it off to the north. Looks like it will begin to get torn apart and become more of an elongated area of low pressure, which could provide maybe some scattered rainfall over portions of the Gulf Coast into portions of Florida. But before this happens, once again, this storm does have the potential for some brief tropical cyclone formation in the next couple of days. One factor that's actually helping the system, is this upper level ridge, which has developed over portions of this system, which is helping fan out the storm, give it a little more breathing room, and also keeping this strong 50 to 80 mile an hour shear, 80 knot shear, which is over Florida into portions of the western portion of the Caribbean, associated also with the subtropical jet stream and the troughiness, which has been moving to this area. If this upper level high was not there, then obviously the shear would probably demolish the system apart. You can also see where the other system we're watching right around this region. There obviously is an upper level ridge which is developed around this region, which is obviously keeping some shear away from that region as well. So obviously there's 2 areas of high pressure which are contributing to both of these systems, continue to keep them from being torn apart. Here's a look at the ocean heat current over the region. Thank you to NOAA for this. You can see once again we're dealing with the system is right around this region, right around the southeastern portions of Nicaragua. This is going to move off to the north and northwest. It's forecast moving to the northwest, and as this does, it's going to move into more of an ocean heat current, which is more substitutional, favorable for this system to gain more energy, and thus we could have potentially some tropical cyclone formation in the next several days. So right now, it's not in the best heat current potential right now. The sea surface temperatures are very warm around where it is right now. But obviously, as it moves in the next several days farther off to the west and west-northwest, this will likely have more room and more opportunity for it to strengthen and develop. Here's a look at the spaghetti plot model intensity, what they want to develop with the system. You can see they're in pretty good agreement of carrying this up to potentially tropical storm status in the next 24 to 36 to 48 hours. And then obviously some of the outlier models may be a little bit too aggressive, carrying this up to a strong Category 2 to Category 3 hurricane in about 72 to 96 hours before plummeting, obviously. But they are agreeing with this becoming absorbed by a trough in the longer range. That's why they had it so weak. But the general consensus with these models are that they will likely stay right around tropical storm status over the next several days. They may try and strengthen the storm up a little bit, maybe to a stronger, maybe 40 to 50 mile an hour tropical storm in the next 60 hours. But then after that, this will likely maintain just tropical storm strength, even though some of the outlier models are forecasting this potentially approach hurricane strength. That's obviously pretty far out. We're going to wait for see if we can get more model consistency before we even go into that potential. Now, before we wrap up this video today, here's also a look at what we're also watching in the next weekend. There's an area of low pressure which is located just east of Nantucket, Massachusetts. Now, there's going to be a low pressure which is going to develop off a stalled out front, which is going to be stalled out from the Gulf of Mexico all the way up to portions of the northern portions of Canada, the provinces of Canada. Now, an area of low pressure may develop around this region. Now, we're going to continue to keep a very close eye on it. This is one of these scenarios where we're going to get into the winter. We're going to continue to keep an eye on where the track of this low goes. If the track remains where the GFS has been solutioning toward a hint, we could actually have enough wraparound moisture with enough cold air in place that we could have potentially some snowfall, potentially falling over portions of the interior portions of the Northeast. We're talking about potentially areas of interior Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, maybe upstate New York. But we're not talking about a snow scenario for the big cities at all. Obviously, I know a lot of people want snow right now, but I know you're going to have to wait a couple more months for that. But we'll continue to keep a very close eye on this track. Wouldn't be surprised if we even see maybe some light accumulation of snowfall into portions of northern portions of New York, northern portion of Vermont, northern Connecticut. We're talking about Burlington, Vermont, potentially Albany. You'll need to keep a very close eye on this. Rochester, Syracuse, areas east of Buffalo need to watch it. You can see right now where the track is keeping the moisture pretty much to the east of the Buffalo right now. But if the track were to shift a little bit farther west, we could have a little more axis of moisture moving to that region. And hey, you could have some snowfall of your own. But once again, this is a situation we're going to continue to watch. We're going to have an area of high pressure, which is forecast to be around this region, supplying cold air moving in. It's going to get a lot chilly over a good portion of the east over the next 7 to 8 days. We're talking about temperatures may be 25 to 35 degrees, once again below average, right around this region. So it's going to be something to continue to keep a very close eye on over the next 7 to 10 days. Keep a very close eye, especially in the interior portions of the Northeast. Keep in the back of your mind that you may have some winter weather falling in portions of your region over the next several days, especially, once again, northwest of the major cities. But once again, after that, looks like pretty much we're going to have a dominant weather. It's going to be pretty quiet over good portions of the central plains, the west. Another system may move in, bring some rainfall to portions of Seattle. And you can see, once again, there's that system we're going to continue to keep a very close eye on right around here, right off the western coast of Florida, that may develop into potentially tropical storm Rena in the next several days. So we'll continue to keep a very close eye on that, and continue to keep a very close eye on the entire nation over the next several days.